Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 47 today for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But heading into Baku then, this is the big episode we've been waiting for since the very start of the season pretty much. The 3 ultimate upgrades on 3 different sides of the R&D tree. The chassis side, aero side, and engine side all getting ultimate upgrades. The engine side actually has a double whammy of an ultimate and a major engine power upgrade as well. So not only will the ERS be updated, but the engine power itself will also be, which will be very useful around Azerbaijan. Obviously, the long main straight, I liken to a motorway every single time we play the F1 game. It really is, and so it's going to be coming in very much so, very handy this episode indeed. But 3 ultimates, that nearly matches. I think of Season 2 we had 2 ultimates at one race at Austria, I believe it was, for Alfa Romeo. But I've never had 3 ultimates at the same time. That's just the perk of obviously going to a new team, having over 5,000 resource points to spend, and having those 3 just, the stars align basically there. So you can see on the R&D graph then a massive jump ahead of then Williams and Renault on paper on the R&D graph. We're a lot closer now to McLaren and Toro Rosso, but you can see what I mean then this entire time. The scaling of this R&D graph is very small because 3 upgrades and we're pretty much jumping up to where McLaren were, even though it looks like quite a hefty, gulf basically on the actual screen itself. But the scaling's so small because the field spread is tiny now in Season 3, as we've not had obviously an R&D reset now since the transition from Season 1 to Season 2. So hopefully this is now the start of us being able to challenge maybe for a podium, dare I say, maybe even a win. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes in this episode. On track, maybe the engine power comes in even more clutch. We'll have to see. But hopefully this is the real start of our season at Red Bull Racing to really try and start the title mount, essentially, because right now, up until now, it's pretty much been comfortably between Toro Rosso and McLaren for the kind of top 2 spots, Renault kind of getting in there for the kind of final podium spot. So hopefully this is the kind of kickstart we need finally with the 3 ultimate upgrades. I'm excited, hope you guys are. Let's get into this then and go to Saturday and see what we do over 1 lap in anger.
Welcome to qualifying in the Republic of Azerbaijan. The teams are making their last-minute adjustments before the lights go green, and the fight for pole position can get underway. It always looked like the kind of track that asks an awful lot of the rear tyres, such as the frequency of low-speed exits.
No matter how good a driver is at managing their throttle application to limit rear slip, they can't always overcome a car that's inherently bad at looking after its rear tyres. Here we have a lot of low-speed corner exits, which means a whole load of energy, heat and tyre wear.
Right, so heading into our first flying lap then in Q1 with this new improved Red Bull, and it certainly feels new and improved actually. You could kind of almost tell the power difference there. It's a little bit more squirmy on the exit, but that might just be a little bit of psychological, just some things I'm making up in my head maybe as I drive along, but I thought I could kind of feel the extra power, and also the lightweightness of the chassis as well, as we have an ultimate chassis weight reduction, so definitely mid-corner that will help us every single time to find some speed, find some acceleration off every apex. So we come now across the line and we're up into P7. My teammate though finishes Q1 in P1, so the car certainly is looking very handy at the moment in the first part of qualifying. Of course, first part of qualifying doesn't really need too much for us as we're trying to aim for Q3, but it's nice to see Gasly top the timesheet there and our car show some sort of pace in the first part. But we get through to the second and we'll see how we go. Right now as we're going to get to the checkered flag. Actually, we're right at the end of the session. I've waited the entire time actually because I'm quite confident we should make it through comfortably into Q3, so I've waited and I'm going to go for 1 set of soft tyres here. It leaves us 2 sets maybe for Q3 to use, but basically just I felt like we didn't need to go for two goes in Q2. So we come across the line then and it's going to be a P1 in Q2, and Gasly is the one on the back foot there as he doesn't set such a great lap time compared to myself and also indeed the others. I don't know what happened with him on that second session there, but P1 for us. So P1 in both sessions there, either Red Bull, so this is looking very good indeed. But we go to the top 10 shootout now, and this is where finally obviously everyone will finally wind up all their engines. Everyone really lays down all the cards they've got on the table. So now it's time to see what's what as we wind ourselves through Sector 2 now, the castle section there. The car feeling pretty good. Overcast conditions though as the sun starts to depart Baku here, so maybe the track conditions might change a little bit. It might favour other cars, we'll have to see. But as we come towards the line then, across the line, it's P2 then ahead of Gasly P3. Leclerc at the moment in provisional pole position then, and by the time we get to the end of the session, Leclerc will remain on pole position. We unfortunately do move down the order into P5 then. Gasly does do a second lap and beats me to P4. Very close margins between myself and Pierre, but we split the two McLarens at least. It's a 1-2 for Toro Rosso once again. Kind of no surprise. I still thought they were going to be very, very good around here there, but to say we split the two McLarens really shows we are now finally right up in that kind of region of kind of fighting those guys for kind of the podium spots. Maybe not the race win, but exactly, because the Toro Rosso is still looking very, very good indeed, but we're making very good strides to stop this whole, very weird dynamic of the Toro Rossos being the faster Red Bull team compared to the kind of actual works Red Bull team. But let's go to Sunday then. I think we can have a very fun race from here, actually. I think the slipstream is going to be very, very good. I've run a little bit lower downforce compared to, I think, what Gasly's going to run, so I think we should be in a very good stead for the race in race trim. So let's go to Sunday and see how we do.
And a warm welcome to you from Azadlik Square, heart of Baku and home, of course, to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With high speeds, tight corners and few runoff zones, many are expecting a safety car here today, so our drivers will have to stay very much on their toes and hopefully away from the barriers. The Baku city circuit measures roughly 6 kilometers and is made up of 20 corners and 2 DRS zones. The circuit winds around the narrow city, through the old town, and even brushes against the city's medieval walls. However, as beautiful as the setting is, this track is also a ferocious technical challenge, where the smallest of mistakes could lead to catastrophic consequences for all of our drivers. Anthony Davidson joins me today as we look ahead to something just a little bit different. It's quite high speed for a street circuit here, isn't it? Do you think that's going to throw up any unexpected situations?
Well, as long as the teams can keep everything cool, I don't foresee any particular big issues from a technical side of things. I do expect the track to be quite slippery though. We've not exactly had much chance to rubber in the surface. Any street circuit also comes with its own challenges, so I think we'll be seeing a few mistakes here and there. The smart strategy would be to expect a safety car, I think, especially early on when the pack is bunched up.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, edging out Devon Butler, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Perez, Gasly, the engineer, and Faber, Norris, Vettel, Hülkenberg, and Daniel Ricciardo, Verstappen, Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, and Stroll, Grosjean, Russell, Daniel Kvyat, and Lewis Hamilton. Raikkonen, they've taken a grid penalty, and Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Right, so looking ahead to the race strategy then for this Grand Prix will be a very simple one-stop from the soft to the hard tyres. I don't think many people are going to try that two-stop here. Got to the point of where these sort of tracks are kind of staple, going to be one-stops now with the tyre wear upgrades that every team should kind of have at this stage of the career mode kind of progression here. But in terms of the fuel, I was a little bit kind of torn between, do we go uber aggressive on the fuel, because the Red Bull engine, the Honda engine in the back of this Red Bull has been so good with the upgrades it's already had before I came to the team that it really does not sit fuel at all, basically. So basically I thought we'd go aggressive, but then I also thought Azerbaijan, I'm going to be on throttle so long for much of the lap there, so I gave myself a little bit of leeway, but I guess we'll just have to see. But hopefully I will get to a point later on this season where I can nail the fuel and basically run as little as I need to and still be in rich mix for most of the race, which is really good obviously for the performance of the engine. Maybe less so for the wear, but great for the performance there, which I'd rather have, obviously, as always. You guys know my philosophy with that. But let's get into this then from P5 on the grid. Like I said, I think this can be a really good Grand Prix for not only myself, but also Gasly as a team. 3 ultimate upgrades. Looking forward to this one. So here we go then in Azerbaijan for round number 4 of Season 3 of my F1 2019 career mode. To 5 red lights from P5 on the grid. Lights are out and we're underway, and it's a bit of a shaky start there for Sergio Perez. Gasly cuts across us there. Weber with a stonking start actually hits the back of Gasly into turn 1 as we're left on the outside, having to defend Weber very aggressively to the left-hand side. We squeeze him, but we're going to maintain P5 as Gasly hits the curb. So a bit of a shaky start for Gasly after initial good getaway off the lights there as we try and cut the slipstream desperately off that Renault. You can see in the background as well, one of the McLarens darting around trying to defend against the Williams car. Sebastian Vettel as we maintain the P5 then into the left-hander and into the heart of Sector 2. But we move swiftly on to the end of lap number 2 and we're still in P5. Weber now is being pressurised by the McLaren behind me, and so instead we're left to kind of basically relax a little bit and try and just keep up with Gasly. But a gap is already forming from Gasly to the McLarens and the 2 Toro Rossos. That's a little bit unfortunate. We might be in a bit of no man's land in the first stint, potentially on these soft tyres, but yellow flags up ahead of us, and it's, oh, looks like a slow Toro Rosso there. Devin Butler going slow, and he's going to try and park the bus a little bit as we try and get through to the inside and not have a blockade there, as Butler goes very slow and very awkwardly has to try and navigate the rest of the circuit and not try and hold up too many people behind us there. But we're up into P4 then, free position for us. Gasly into P3, very good stuff, but there goes Devin Butler and finally finds an escape road, actually. He probably could have turned a lot earlier, I think, so Butler being a little bit stubborn with that, but eventually he does find an escape road to retire the car, so that's very unfortunate for the Toro Rosso boys, and it's maybe a little bit worrying, actually. That's 2 issues in the first 4 races. Obviously, I think it was Leclerc, wasn't it, that had the engine failure at Australia, and then a mechanical failure of some sort for Butler here in round number 4. So obviously they have 2 wins in a row, but that reliability is still an issue there. So if they want to really try and mount a full-on title challenge over the course of a very long season this is right now we have in F1, they're going to have to try and sort that out. But anyway, we get a free position. Gasly gets a free position, and so happy days for us. But we now move on back to that fight, and actually we're going to try and switch it, make myself a lot happier as we can get up into P3 then and into that podium position as we go through. No DRS activated yet, as obviously we're only on lap 2, but a natural overtake there with slipstream and just the power of the ERS and fuel mixture going through, and we're up into P3 of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix and feeling very good about it indeed. But now, can we do anything to chase after Sergio Perez and Leclerc in P1 and 2? Probably not, I would say. I mean, the gap they've already got now, only 3 laps gone, is very large. I think instead I'm going to have to look behind me a little bit and make sure I can try and keep Gasly at bay. And remember, the other McLaren of Norris should be pretty quick as well, so he might come knocking as well, and that might be an issue for us. But as we move on quite some way into the Grand Prix, then 5 laps later on lap number 8, I can tell you that Gasly and Norris have been fighting a little bit. Norris is now pit on lap number 7. We're going to continue on there. Gasly will come in on this lap there, because I know that's just how it's going to work with the default strategy in the AI teammate. So we continue on and do him the courtesy of not making him double stack there. So Leclerc now has made a pit stop, as well as that was also Sergio Perez. So we're into P1 for a little while on lap number 9, but we're going to now come in for a pit stop. I had a little bit of a thought of, hang on, could I stretch this tyre any longer to maybe go on to medium tyres? But you can see the rear tyres there absolutely screaming, nearly 80% wear on the rear left there. So no way those soft tyres would have gone any longer. Would have been a bit of a puncher risk, and also probably the mediums wouldn't have gone any longer there. So we have to go to the hard tyres, alas. It just means our hard tyres are going to be the newest out of everyone else. Obviously, Gasly, Norris, Perez, Leclerc all pit at least 2 laps or 1 lap earlier than me. So it might not make such a huge difference, but we've got to at least try and take that, as we tried something a little bit clever. It didn't really work out in the end. We've come out behind Gasly and Norris, but I'm confident we can try and catch them back up. This car is feeling very good in a straight line. You know, that overtake we made on Gasly was so simple without DRS, so I'm confident with DRS this car should be an absolute monster the way we've set up with the car setup compared to Gasly set up potentially with lower wings. And this main straight right here might just be the testament to that as we move on towards lap 11 there. We're gaining on Gasly already, open DRS, and we gain even more. And so could we make a move into turn 1? As meanwhile Raikkonen goes side by side to try and make a move on the outside of Lando Norris. We go nice and easy and try to get the cutback line on the left hand side, switch it from right to left and get to the inside of Gasly for turn number 2. And we're going to try and outbrake him, squeeze him out very delicately as we graze the sidewall of his front left tyre and just kiss him a little bit away, and we're up into P7. But now we watch this battle. My former teammate Raikkonen having a go at Norris, to be fair. Raikkonen yet to pit. We have a little look to the inside, didn't work out there, kind of backed out of that on purpose because I thought that was just not going to end well, being boxed in on the inside of that very large left hand side wall, and instead going to try and grab Raikkonen if we can, catch him napping a little bit on this next left hander. Very aggressive under braking there, a little bit of a lock up there, but we get the elbows out in the second phase of that chicane, and we're up into P6 with a very nice move there. And so now we can try and chase after Lando Norris and hopefully leave Gasly to overtake Raikkonen pretty soon. But Kimi might be coming in anyway for his first pit stop. He's going from mediums to hards, I would suspect. But here we go then, on towards now lap 12, and we're quite far back from the McLaren, but that won't matter because this car is an absolute machine in straight line round with the upgrades. Down the inside we go, and we chop through to the apex and try and cut off Norris's line and make sure we book in that place. And meanwhile Gasly also makes the overtake for his position on Raikkonen, but Norris comes back at us with a very good brake zone there on the right hand side of us on the outside of that left hander. And so we had a little bit of a look, but now we go defensive and go right to left hand side, try and break the toe as best we can, drift through to the middle of the circuit, make it very awkward for Lando Norris there, and go very slow on the brakes and maintain that P5 position. And as we move on through this Grand Prix then, it'll be actually Gasly then that goes and attacks Lando Norris. So we're getting a bit of a gap, about maybe, you know, just under a second gap there to Gasly, that is, and he overtakes Norris. And then meanwhile right behind Norris is this man man. Max Verstappen, haven't seen too much of him, or both Renaults really. We saw a bit of Lucas Weber at the very start of the Grand Prix, but haven't seen too much of him so far this Grand Prix. But Verstappen comes out then. That's his one and only pit stop. So Verstappen's jumped a fair few people with his Contra 1 stop, because he actually didn't make it into Q3, remember. So he actually had a free choice of tyres. So he's done very well to jump a lot of people there, and is now on the back of my teammate and Lando Norris, actually. So that might be a bit of an issue. We've seen the Renault have very good race pace so far this season. Even if it doesn't have any quali pace, that's some very dark horse-like race pace. So you're going to have to watch out for that and kind of worry about that a little bit. But having said that, though, Gasly's looking like he might try and fancy to re-overtake Verstappen here as he's made the move into turn 2, but he's got the DRS off him, and on the outside he goes, and Gasly, this might be a very impressive re-overtake there on his former teammate from Red Bull. In Season 2, of course, we saw Verstappen switch to Renault halfway through that season there to try and get in the title fight it was between myself and Hamilton. Looks like those two very closely matched at the moment, so have to keep our eyes on that and see how that kind of progresses. But as we go on through this Grand Prix, then on towards lap number 16, we get a message from my engineer about Lando Norris, which might be quite important for this entire race for us.
Some information on Norris. They have some kind of mechanical problem.
So Norris has some sort of mechanical issue in the car, so we'd say at some point that Gasly and Verstappen will probably both pass Norris, and then it'll just be Gasly and Verstappen that I have to worry about. So one less car, and hopefully if Gasly can maintain the position ahead of Verstappen, it kind of acts as a bit of a blockade, and we can try and, hopefully maintain the P3 here, which will obviously be the goal for us here, having been handed obviously one free position from Butler retiring. But we're just going to have to see how it goes on. But first and foremost, these guys have to actually overtake Norris first. Right now, Lando doing a great job actually at maintaining the pace over them, despite having a bit of a limping car. But I think now is going to be pretty much booked in on this main straight. These two rapidly gain on Norris there. It's going to be 3 wide towards turn 1 momentarily there, and Verstappen gets the place on Gasly at the same time, but Gasly will come back down the inside, and so those two side by side once again. Some really great fighting between these two. I suspect some tensions are rising a little bit, obviously. A bit of bad blood between these two for when they used to be in Red Bull in Season 2, and right now Verstappen has the advantage. But as we look through, very awkward camera angle this, but I believe Gasly now has moved to the right and Verstappen's moved to the left to cover off the inside line, but Gasly has the advantage with DRS, and he goes dancing around the outside of Verstappen and gets that P4 position, which is going to be very happy days for myself and the team. But even more so, it might just be this little spin from Max Verstappen there on the exit curb there on the left-hand side. Don't know what on earth was going on there for Verstappen and that Renault, but he just instantly spun as soon as he hit that curb. I don't know, it's a bit of a glitch kind of thing, because if we look on the onboard there, it's a very erratic spin, so I don't know what on earth was happening. Maybe an invisible wall from the game, I'm not too sure. If we're trying to make it a bit more realistic, then that we're going to say that Verstappen just got on the power way too early on the curb, but that looked a little bit weird. But nonetheless, that means that Verstappen is now fully out of that kind of race for P4 and P3 maybe. So now it is maybe just a race between myself and Gasly for the final podium position there, because Gasly has free air now to push, doesn't need to defend positions, doesn't need to lose time by defending, and now he's got clean air to try and chase after me, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So this might just be a Red Bull v Red Bull affair for P3 in this GP then, with about 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix. We move on towards lap number 20 then. Gasly on the left-hand side with DRS there. We move to the left though to cover off that zone on the track. There we go, very, very wide actually, and go across the pit lane entry, which is a little bit naughty of us, but we'll let it go. And into turn 1 we go very defensive and are able to squeeze Gasly out and maintain that P3 at least for 1 lap, because Gasly will come knocking once again. Obviously the nature of the circuit just means you can keep in the slipstream and just keep it coming. So now will it be second time lucky for Gasly now? Once again we're on the inside line, he goes to the outside, and this time he has a little bit of a better look, but I also go a little bit deeper and actually cut that off a little bit better in some aspects. So now maybe third time lucky as we move on to the very next lap, and Gasly this time doesn't actually try to make a move into turn 1. Instead he's going to stick behind us through turns 2 and get the DRS for the second time now down this long back straight. And obviously the next left-hander is a very awkward one, and you got to try and go side by side. So here he goes now, Gasly with the move on the left, and he powers past it. We have to try and outbrake him and try and go the long way around. We try and find the grip to try and get the nose turned, and we thankfully do, but we're still going to be neck and neck into the next right-hander as Gasly finds the momentum to go around the outside there. And so now it's a drag race to the chicane. A little bit of a wobble from Gasly on the rear end there. We're on the outside, awkward place to be for this chicane. We're going to try our best to stick it through. Gasly gives us the room, and he's made it through up into P3. We have to cut back through and try and switch it on the other side of the track there. He's holding the inside line, gives us some room though on the outside to work with. We're going to try this. Oh no! Oh, come on! Gasly with the T-bone spin there for us, and now Gasly so awkwardly parks it, and it's an absolute calamity for the entire Red Bull team. We're down to P4, Verstappen's up into P3, Gasly's going to have to do about a 5 million point turn to get through that section. I'm surprised there's been no safety car, but absolute calamity. It's all come to heads. It was building up for 3 laps there. You probably saw it coming in a way, and now there it is as we try and go round the outside. This is just, Gasly just doesn't give us that little bit of room we needed to make it work. He had so much room on the right hand side, but no, he just decides to squeeze us out into the wall. And there you go. It's a bit of a Red Bull civil war here now at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It was coming for about 3 laps there, and it finally happened. And then you can see here a very awkward Gasly now has to do about a 10-point turn to turn the car around. And I'm very, very shocked the FIA haven't thrown out a safety car for that pile-up there. That's basically happening, a traffic jam. It's almost like they're parked up to go to the local supermarket. I don't know what's going on there with the FIA, but here we go now. On board shot of Gasly, and he doesn't even feel it until we spin around there. But if you look on his on board, he had so much more room on the right hand side to give. I mean, the only reason Verstappen here is able to nip down the inside and get P3 very easily is because Gasly kept his car left the entire time. I mean, look at that. There's so much room on the right there. Yes, he probably would have to sharpen up the car angle so much more, but he knew I was there on the outside, so he should have actually thought about maybe giving me some more room. Alas, obviously, I probably would have had to back out of it into the castle section, but, you know, we're still able to go side by side up until the castle section. So instead now, I'm left fighting for P4, defending against Lucas Weber with some good momentum now, and obviously I've lost all my momentum now after that little kind of slowdown, and the tyres would have cooled a little bit as well as we now move through on towards that 24, being pressurised very much so by my former F2 teammate there, but my current teammate Pierre Gasly, I mean, what an that's just blown the entire race. That's ruined the entire Red Bull race. This would have been a very, very awesome P3 and P4 if it had not been for that little spinning collision here. And now instead I'm having a very good scrap, to be fair, with Weber, but it's one I don't want to have really, as we go very aggressive and go very defensive, trying to maintain this P4 and try and at least limit the damage that this entire debacle has given us there, as we have a very nice switchback move down the inside that was to get back into P4. We save ERS that we have to try and save for the next few laps there, and we actually do it with DRS there. DRS allows us to go to none ERS, but that contact, that spin with Pierre Gasly is going to have to be looked at after this race there, I would say, in a debrief with Red Bull, because that is just not on. 4 races in, the race where we finally get these upgrades, this should be a time where we're all kind of working as a team to get the best results, and that just was not needed, especially against your teammate. You don't need to squeeze him that much. Obviously, I could have been less aggressive, so I'm a little bit to blame, I feel, but I think Gasly, it should have given me way more room, but I guess we'll have to see after the debrief what comes of it. But in the end, it will be only P4 then at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I say only because it really should have been a podium there for 3rd place, but it just wasn't meant to be then.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
It was touch and go for a while there, but Toro Rosso have done it. A great win. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
And it's time now for the podium celebrations, and how well deserved is this one? This is a team all about giving talented young drivers an opportunity to race and to win. Toro Rosso are your winners here today.
So there we have it then. Charles Leclerc wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. 3 wins on the trot for Toro Rosso then. Sergio Perez 2nd place, very consistent. The Mexican has been so far this season. Verstappen with a gifted P3 means the championship looks like this. Perez on top then, ahead of Leclerc and Verstappen in P3. It's all looking very, very close indeed. And of course, it should have been a lot closer for myself and maybe Gasly, but we're alas in P6 and P8 then. The FI though, with no penalties for Gasly or myself, so I guess they thought it was a racing incident. And to be fair, I can see it as very much a kind of racing incident, but it's a racing incident that didn't need to happen, if you get what I mean there. So constructors wise, we're still maintaining kind of in the region of that top 4 fight with Toro Rosso, McLaren and Renault there, so at least that's good. But the way that race ended is just going to leave a very sour taste in the mouth here with this situation of you know, the car just getting good and then straight away we have issues. What is it with Red Bull and Azerbaijan? It just seems to happen. In real life it did with Ricciardo and Verstappen, and here lo and behold myself and Gasly come to heads here. And after a very long lengthy debrief post race of what went on on there and the situation as a whole at Red Bull, with the entire Red Bull program, the 2 Toro Rossos being the lead Red Bull team and the 2 Red Bull kind of works team not being the lead Red Bull team, due to the fact that I am the only driver here in this kind of 4-driver pool that contracted to Red Bull as a whole. I'm the only one with a Drivers' Championship to my name. Helmut Marko has offered me the chance to sign for Toro Rosso on a temporary basis, potentially, until Red Bull are good enough to give me a race-winning car. He sees the fact that the frustration is boiling over a little bit. Potentially that could have been at play a little bit in the race today of what went down there at Azerbaijan, but here is the offer on the table. I either accept the contract and join Toro Rosso on a temporary basis until Red Bull pull up their socks and are ready to give me a race-winning car, or I stay with Red Bull and try and see how it goes with this now little fractious teammate relationship I've got now with Pierre Gasly following the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. What decision is going to be made, I will leave till the next episode, guys. If you did enjoy this one, smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, subscribe for weekly Formula content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoyed today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.